Hello, my Scorpio friends. This is Jill with the Healing Moon Tarot. And today we're going to do your November 2018 general reading. Happy birthday. I've been so excited to talk to you all this month. I am also a Scorpio. If you are returning, you probably know that. If you're not, if you're new, welcome first off. And happy birthday, everyone. I'm just so excited. My birthday was yesterday. I tried to do our reading. It didn't go well. My neighbor's dogs are driving me insane. And my garage door just opened on its own. Okay, let's hope for the best now. I don't even know where I was. I think I was welcoming people to the channel, and last month we had Seek Beauty as our oracle card. So where were you able to seek beauty in the month of October? My personal place was in the clouds. I don't know. So many times I can think vividly of really beautiful skies that I was very drawn to, would take time to appreciate. And I would love to hear from you, whether you're new or you've been here for a while. I think this is an important part of doing these monthly in a general space, is to maybe have some conversations about if we're participating in using the cards, if we're participating in thinking about the things that are said here and how these energies play in our lives. I myself do a small journal entry every month about the reading and for myself, and there's very specific things that I carry with me through the month, and I'm like, I'm glad that I'm seeking beauty right now, or something of that equivalent. This month we have Let Love Be Your Beacon. That is not always easy for us Scorpios. If you have been feeling cut off, if you have been feeling that you're maybe disconnected from your friends or your family, or even a significant other, it may be important for you to bring on the responsibility of leading with love. I myself have been being very conscious in some of this stuff recently. I think it's funny that this card came out because yesterday was a perfect example. It was my birthday. I know that there is like a literal switch inside of me that I can either want to be talked to and interacted with by people, or I don't. And I can not turn that switch on. And it's not that I'm not engaging with people or willing to be myself with people. It's like people know that I don't want to be talked to, and people tend to leave me alone. And I can hear a comment like, oh, you have RBF. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. If I'm not consciously trying to lead from a loving space, in a space that wants people to interact with me, people will read me as a miserable SOB, because that's just how my body language or my face or something about me lets them know that I don't care to be interacted with. And I don't necessarily do it purposefully most of the time. And I'm not, even if that switch isn't flipped, I'm not being mean or miserable. It's just common knowledge that I'm probably not friendly. But if you relate to this at all, which I know a lot of you Scorpios do, it may be important for us to be conscious in flipping our switch and being like, I am open to people interacting with me. I am open to sharing experiences and conversations and perspectives and emotions with the people around me. I want my spouse or my significant other to know that I want to hug and to know that I want to talk to them and to know that I enjoy them. So I need to remember to come from a place that's willing to engage. And I have to do this at work. My husband kind of laughs at me. He's like you're Jekyll and Hyde, but I don't feel like I'm being fake. It's just that I'm conscious going, okay, if I don't try to be nice, I'm going to be perceived as mean and miserable. I'm not mean and miserable, but people read me that way very easily. And uh, I have to put conscious effort into coming from a place of love and letting that kind of be something inside of me that I allow people to interact with. And this could just be consciously putting a smile on my face more. I'm not a smiler. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to articulate some of the stuff about myself because I get it in my own head and then trying to find words. But I feel like you Scorpios understand this. We can. Our stinger is there. It is real. Uh, we we can be very harsh sometimes, and we think we're funny or we think it's okay. Um, but if you are looking for ways to connect, if you're feeling a little isolated, if you are, you've just been caught up in a lot of other stuff, mentally, physically, emotionally, and you're feeling like you need some interaction, the best place to start with that is what you can control, and you can control what you're putting out into the world. So if you want love to come back to you, you have to come from a place of love. We are going to pull our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual cards. I don't know. I do this the same way every month. I don't know why I can never say the order right. I've only done it, 50 times. This one, this one, this one. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I didn't put them in the wrong place. One more. Oh. All right, Scorpio. So we have the Page of Pentacles or coins here coming out for a mental space. I know last month we talked about some emotional relationship to physical stuff, and here the page, this is a young energy that has vitality and stamina and excitement, and there's this willingness in the pages. They're young and they're excitable and they're willing to take risk, and they're willing to get involved. And it's like he's holding this up ready to for another reading. They had Make-A-Wish as their card, and then he came next, and I saw him kind of like making a wish, like someone would blow on a dandelion, but here he has this coin in his hand. So it's this young, hopeful, excitable energy. Our mental space with a physical card, we may be focused on some kind of new opportunity with either an investment, a job, some kind of thing we can physically do, a new diet, a new eating plan, a new home. I mean, you name it. This person is excited about something new in their physical world, and they have an energy that is high to get involved or create this thing. I will say, in association to this card, they say if you're starting a new habit during your birthday, that's better than most people would do it at the beginning of the year, right? And that really works for some, and maybe the camaraderie of a lot of people getting involved in new things helps with that. But doing it during your sun time is actually a really good time for us to start a new habit. Um, Around our birthday, that was, you know, 38 years ago, I was 24 hours old. You know what I mean? So I was my first experiences as a human, and something about that, you know, and our bodies and the patterns that happen in our life. So if you are doing something new in your physical world, this could be a new schedule, a new budget, a new meal plan, you name it, but it may be really good for you right now to get that ball rolling, so it's something that could really stick with you. Coming in your physical space, we have the Seven of Wands. I believe we had this card last month too. But here he is, on the higher ground and willing to defend himself. In your physical space, you might feel like you're under attack. You might feel like you're getting a little overwhelmed. You may feel like things just aren't working right. I would be very mindful of any conflicts coming your way. How are you responding to people? How are you dealing with this? Are you willing to take the high ground? Are you the one on the offense, or are you going to let that kind of stuff play out and only get involved if it comes from a defensive space? And going back to this, if you want more love in your life, you got to put it out into the world. So, any of these things with conflict, I see him like, I'm up here, I'm out of it, right? I'm going to try to keep my composure, and I'm going to focus on only what is mine. It's like he's on this tiny little piece of land and he's like, nope, this is mine, and I will defend this. I'd be very mindful of those conflicts in your life, what you're putting out there. I wouldn't be the one to lash out. I wouldn't be the one to strike first. I would try to have when I say higher ground, having a removed perspective may help deal with some of these things. I think we're going to get more of what that may mean when we do the second half of the reading. So I think I'm going to pause there for now, and we'll come back to it later. For emotional space, we have the Nine of Coins. Again, we had the Queen there last time, I believe. So still very focused on our physical space. And for some of us, that may mean that we have to deal with that stuff before we can get back into our emotions. So she feels very comfortable in her space. She's obviously put a lot of time and effort and work, and she has created a really beautiful garden for herself that she seems to be very much enjoying. So emotionally, we may feel like, okay, we've really put in the work here. And you may be feeling really, really good about yourself. So now that you've kind of created that space, if last month you were able to deal with some of, I think we talked a bit about clearing out some old stuff or reevaluating your emotional attachments to your physical world. If we've done that and we're now in a place like, okay, I cleaned out some of the old and I've beautifully displayed what I have. Now I'm feeling like, okay, I'm getting it together, right? And these two things in combination, the Page and the Nine here in our mental and our emotional space, I think that is like just that we matured just a little bit more there. We were able to um, pull it up a notch, and it helped us find security within ourselves, where it's helping us get more stable in our physical world. So we could then put that stuff down if you were able to reorganize your home, or clean up your budget a little bit, um, deal with your physical world in whatever way if it had gotten out of hand, because I understand that my physical world's kind of been a mess because we've had a lot going on. And not only a lot going on in our physical world, but I dealt with a lot of the emotional stuff we talked about last month, with dealing with some grief and letting things go. And um, so I'm there with you, and I feel this, that, the more we can get our world, our physical world, running in a smoother order, it frees up the ability to connect with people, because we feel like, okay, I've cleaned things up, I've organized, I feel on top of stuff. It gives you a sense of control. A lot of times it can give us just, I said security already, but it does. It can help us feel more secure. And the more secure we feel in that physical space, the more likely we can then um, connect on emotional levels with people. Our spiritual space, we have the Moon card. And this is one of my favorite cards. Healing Moon Tarot, makes sense. And spiritually, this may be calling on our intuition. It is our birthday time, and we are Scorpios who are extremely intuitive anyway. This is represented here in us maybe listening to that a little bit more, being a little bit more aware of it, spending time processing it, spending time looking for it. If you do feel you are intuitive in some way, what is your relationship to that? Does it make you comfortable or uncomfortable? Because I know from experience that it can make us feel uncomfortable sometimes. It's like, why do I know that? Or why do I feel that way? Why is that my response to this situation? I personally recently woke up in the middle of the night and got in my car and drove somewhere because I knew something bad was happening. I hadn't spoken to anyone. I didn't have any reference. But I knew something was wrong. And I trusted myself. Now, should I have gotten in my car and driven somewhere? I don't know. That was maybe a little silly. But I knew in that moment, and I trusted in that moment, that I was right. And I was right. And it was uncomfortable and upsetting to an extent and whatever. And it caused me to have to deal with some stuff. But, I trusted, for whatever reason, that I woke up at, Lord knows, middle of the night, 3 something a.m. I didn't feel crazy by trusting myself. And I think that's important for us. If you have those moments where you're just like, I don't know why or how I know, but I know that I know. And then you fall down a rabbit hole of like, am I crazy? What is wrong with me? Why do I think this way? It's very important that our perspective on ourselves is one of support. You know what? You might be crazy, but support your crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I just trust when I have a really deep gut feeling. I try really hard to trust that without questioning if I'm a lunatic. You know what I mean? So if you come into those situations this month, uh, try to trust yourself. I mean, don't put yourself in a bad situation or do something ridiculously irrational, or you know what I mean? But give yourself the opportunity to trust your instinct, to trust your gut, listen to your intuition, or give yourself more opportunity to explore what that means to you. And this card also, there's a transformation here. Things look different in the dark, right? And it's the same light source that we get all day from the sun. It's just arriving to us in a different way. And it's amazing the feelings that are associated with the dark versus the light, all of the old tales of whatever, werewolves and vampires and all this, it all has to do with the night and our shadows. And this can bring up some shadow work within us, those deep dark recesses of ourselves that are scary, or that we don't want to admit, or we don't want to allow. If any of that's kind of pulled up for you this month, I'd be mindful of paying attention to it. You may want to look up what shadow work means. There's some, people out in the world that talk about this, and from more of a psychological or spiritual standpoint of what that means, and how to deal with some of those things. It can be really heavy work, it can be really exhausting work. I find it beneficial within myself, but I'm careful about when I dive into that, because I can get really hard on myself, or it can emotionally really drain me. So if you're interested in any of that and you want some resources, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I will try to provide speakers or whatever that I've come across over my years of researching this kind of stuff that I would recommend for people. I think we're going to pause, move some stuff around, and get into the second part of this reading. All right, Scorpio. Oh, and then I grabbed the wrong cards. That's okay. We are going to start with a challenge card. Hermit. Noda. Oh, jeez. This is hard for me, Scorpios, and I hope you don't mind, because all I want to do is do a reading for myself. And I try really hard to not, tell you all my stuff, because you probably don't care. No, I have made it very known that I associate with the Hermit card on a very deep level. And in general, the Hermit is all about taking, to me, it's about taking our experiences that we have in the world, all the thoughts, ideas, opinions, information in general that we soak up all day long from all the people and stuff that we do, and then allowing time to be alone, and understanding there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. I don't see the Hermit as lonely. I see the Hermit as someone who's able to be alone and who is able to digest the world, if you will, and come back to what aligns with him. He takes in all this information, weighs it all out, and is able to connect with who he is, how he feels about everything, what his perspective based on his experiences are. And so this coming for a challenge as someone who associates deeply with this card, and I feel a lot of my Scorpio friends do. We may just not be in a place this month where it's best for us to be there. You know what I mean? That We may not get our alone time that we usually do. We may not get to turn off as much. Holidays are coming up and different things, and there's going to be lots of opportunities to interact with people and enjoy the festivities going through November and December. So it may be hard for you to find that time. It may be hard for you to digest all of what you're taking in and be aligned with your perspective, your opinions. Um, let's pull some more cards. Let's pull what? And going back here, the physical world with this conflict, it may just be this not necessarily being like a conflict, but just a lot going on in the physical space. And it's like, okay, what next? It's like this guy's playing whack-a-mole. I don't know why I just saw him like that, but there's just life gets busy. There's a lot of people, everybody's putting in their opinion. There's lots of ideas of what needs to be done. And it may just be not necessarily a conflict, but it could feel that way. It could feel like you're under attack, but you're really just playing whack-a-mole and trying to get through all of this stuff. And so that's why I'm feeling it just, if you're not getting the alone time you need this month, you may need to try, if you typically meditate and then shower, meditate in the shower. You know what I mean? You might have to get creative in finding those times where you can get alone with yourself and your thoughts and your feelings and digest what's happening around you. Let's pull a card for our strength this month. Queen of Swords. Oh, my friends don't want to hear that. And one of my best friends calls me the Queen of Swords. She wanted me to be the Queen of Swords for Halloween. The Queen of Swords is logical and honest and just and fair, and she's a queen of air. And depending on your other placements in your sign, I myself, and my moon is Virgo and my ascending is Gemini, so I'm a complicated mess. And I'm very much those right brain, left brain kind of tests. I'm typically straight down the center, and it can be really hard for people to deal with me sometimes because I can be brutally honest to a fault. And because of my emotional awareness and how I tie things emotionally to everything and I recognize patterns, I can be very mean without meaning to be mean. It's like I know how to really hurt someone unintentionally because I'm very good at kind of picking people apart, knowing their weaknesses, so on and so forth. So this is coming out in a strengths card. So let's not talk about all the negatives of it and try to focus on the positives, but I think it's important to know that that energy can also be that way. So with the Queen of Swords coming out for a strength, this is calling on us to be logical. This is calling on us to be decisive. This is calling on us to be honest and fair and just. However, this is not telling us to be the judge and jury and we're going to run stuff and chop off heads. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fine line there. And for us Scorpios and our stingers, sometimes that line gets hard to read and we stand on the wrong side of it, right? But this coming out for strength for us this month, If we find ourselves being too emotional, if we find ourselves not making decisions, if we find ourselves in situations where logic can help, honesty can help, maybe not be quick to fly off the handle and get into this I'm gonna attack, but remember, higher ground, defense, not offense. This place where I'm not lashing out at people, I'm not trying to run the show, but if I can be helpful, if I can say words that are going to be meaningful in this situation, make choices, then I'm going to use my abilities to do so. Cool. Let's pull Need to Know card. Temperance. Ace of Swords, King of Cups. Temperance is balance of heart. This is fire and water coming together. And remember, we're trying to come from a place of love, right? If we want love to return to us, we have to let it be known by putting it into the world. I always think about these cups sharing here. Since it is hearts and there's cups depicted, it's also associated with the cup cards, which we have another one here with a sword in the center. Again, logic, decisiveness, quick potential to say the right thing at the right time. This is a seed that can be watered into something, or like a matchstick that can be lit and create fire. The King of Cups is mature water energy. There's this willingness to exchange emotions, an authenticity there, a sensitivity, empathy. All of those lovely feeling words. I feel like in your need to know, with this queen coming out as a strength, and then the sword represented here between two emotional cards again. It is important for us to be both logical and emotional, and that proves itself over and over and over in our lives, Scorpio. I believe a lot of you can relate to that in this playing that game. We're smart when it comes to emotions. The reason why we are called intuitive has a lot to do with our pattern recognition when it comes to emotional states of people and how we read those things and how we can present ourselves to people based on what we know. I am very good at reading people. I can watch somebody for 10 minutes and know what parts of my personality that I need to emphasize to start a connection with that person. We went into some of that earlier, and flipping that switch and coming from a place that those people know we're willing, right? I think this really comes down to us being conscious about that, being logical and taking some control of that. I have control over this. I can control how I'm presenting myself. I can control turning that switch on. I can control it, the understanding that I can't just expect it to show up. And if I'm not willing to make it a conscious effort of mine. Let's pull some suggestion cards. I don't know why I keep picking those up. Maybe I'm going to have to pull one more from that deck. And I'm going to, because it's our birthdays. Why not? Extra long reading. We have the Two of Swords and the Seven of Cups. Swords and Cups and Swords and Cups. And I thought, well, I guess we have everything. We have wands, coins, swords, and cups. And the rest, yeah. We have a really good mix of majors and minors and all of the elements. So that's cool. The Two of Swords represents kind of shutting down and going within. They're always represented with the eyes covered, whether through blindfold or the swords kind of, like they are here. And there's always this kind of defensive, like, I almost see it as someone who is trapped inside their own brain, running things over, and they have these swords in their hand. Like, don't come near me. I'm busy and I don't have time to deal with you, and I will stab you if you mess with me right now. And I feel like that's the kind of energy I can get in when I don't get this. So with us not getting enough of our alone time, and we try to force it, or we may get defensive with people and be like, I can't deal with you right now. I'm trying to deal what's in my own head. And this card can be a pause. It can be it is okay. It's okay to just go inside yourself and be like, I can't deal with you right now. And I think that may come into play for us this month, and that's going to be something we just have to deal with and understand we may not get all the time to take care of ourselves the way we want to this month. And it's going to be okay to tell people, you know what, listen, I got a lot going on in my head right now, and I can't, I just can't. And, but hopefully if you let people know, be your beacon. A beacon is letting people know that it's there, right? And it's drawing others to you. If you let these people know, listen, I love you, or I want you around, and I need you around, whatever. But I might need some alone time, or I might be a bit snotty because I'm not getting as much of it as I might need. Also here with the Seven of Cups, this is I kind of see him as an indecisiveness that can happen here. But we've already been told we need to be really logical and decisive and straightforward. So it may be this coming out in your suggestion card is taking the time to really take a close look at these. It's like he's standing at the vending machine and he's like, which one am I going to choose? I don't think I want a snake or whatever the world that is, dragon thing. These jewels or this crown look nice, and what is that under that cover? I'm not really sure what that is. You know, like, um, there may be need to be this careful balance of taking the time, because these are pause cards and they're coming out in our suggestions areas with so many other areas of being decisiveness. But it may be important to be like, I need to be really decisive and clear about this stuff, and I need to use that to my strengths. But in order to do that, I may need to take a time out, and that may be hard, but take a time out, go within myself, find this way to get clear about these things and really weigh my options and deal with this stuff. And as long as I let everybody around me know that I'm coming from a place of love and I'm trying to create this balance, I'm trying to create this authenticity within myself, within our relationships, with, you know, whatever it is. If I'm trying to come from a place of love and I keep my intentions set properly, all of this should go pretty smoothly. But I would just be mindful of that play in your life this month. Be conscious of it, because it's really easy for us to become snots and to not be nice and to be a little harsh or to be, you know, throw that stinger out there, uh, especially if we're feeling anxious or overwhelmed or like waiting for the next mole to pop up so we can pop it in the head. You know, uh, I think if we respect ourselves, gives ourselves our time to deal and trust ourselves, we'll be all right, right? We're always okay. That's what makes us Scorpios, right? All right. It was a lot of fun doing this reading. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please throw me a like down below or subscribe if you'd like to hear from me again. And if you would like to reach out, have a comment, question, or concern, leave a comment, or my other social medias will be linked below. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing month. Happy birthday again, and be well. Bye.